Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. My name is Aaron, and this is the instant match reaction after Kilmacud Crokes cruise into the Leinster Club Senior Football Final. They've beaten Portarlington by a scoreline of 112 to 4 points. Comprehensive, comfortable, never in doubt from start to finish. I mean, this game was done and won really after about 10-15 minutes. I mean, it was very, very comfortable from Kilmacud Crokes. I mean, we've seen Portarlington give Crokes a very, very good game last year in the semi-finals. Definitely not the case this time around. Kilmacud Crokes, I mean, what a team. You know, what a group of players, what a team. And I know sometimes they get a lot of stick for, bringing Shane Walsh in and everything else. And, but I've said this numerous times on previous streams, and I'll say the same again. It's not about Walsh. I think Kilmacud Crokes would win the All-Ireland without him. I really, really do. And that's a bold statement, even without Paul Mannion. I think they're that good. From midfield, from defense to attack. I mean, they're just all so on the same sync. And the crazy thing is tonight, they didn't even look like they broke a sweat, to be honest. They never really looked like they got out of, they're in cruise control. They're on autopilot. Like, it was so comfortable for them. And, like, their work defensively today was absolutely brilliant. I mean, Portarlington finished with 4 points. You'd look at that and think, Jesus, Portarlington must have been very wasteful in front of goal or whatever. And there was times where they were, they shot from poor angles and everything else. But I'd love to see the stats in terms of efforts on goal from Portarlington, because I don't even think they'd make it into double figures. I mean, Crokes were getting blocks in, they were getting challenges in, turnovers left, right and centre. It was absolutely outstanding from a Kilmacud Crokes point of view. Rory O'Carroll, Craig Diaz, Ben Shovlin and Darragh Mullen, outstanding. Darragh Mullen at times, like getting back, getting the blocks in, as a full forward to be doing that defensive work. Like, it shows the sort of togetherness of this Kilmacud Crokes side, that their forwards are tracking back and defending. It was just absolutely brilliant. And like, from a Portarlington point of view, like, they definitely weren't at the races. Like, there was some sloppy passes, they didn't move the ball quick enough, they were trying to run it through the middle and it just wasn't working at all. I wasn't at the game obviously, but it would have been good to see sort of what the movement was like from their forwards, because with Portarlington, maybe they could have been a bit more direct, kicked inside. I know maybe you run the risk of sort of giving away possession, but I felt like maybe they just needed to mix it up a little bit more and maybe do something a little bit different than what they were doing. There was one or two occasions where they did kick long sort of into the square, and Conor Ferris, the Kilmacud Crokes goalkeeper, didn't look entirely convincing, and maybe sort of in the end of the game, final 10 minutes, throw the shackles off, just kick it in long, because you never know. You get 1 or 2 goals. I mean, it was the lead was 8 points for majority of the match. It was sort of Crokes hit 3-4 points on answer towards the end to make it even more comfortable. And to be fair, the scoreline actually does reflect how the game was. But Portarlington maybe just could have went a bit more direct in there. And it just didn't really happen for them. Like Colin Murphy with 2 points, Adam Ryan with 2 points. Adam Ryan, probably their main impressive player in this game. Obviously goes without saying, kicking 2 points, but they couldn't get David Murphy involved. Rian Murphy looked lively at times, but wasn't really in the game. Ronan Coffey, Jake Foster, 2 players who've impressed in the last couple of seasons for Portarlington, but there wasn't really anything in it for them this time around. Like, they were just really, really sort of taken out of the game by a really, really well-run Kilmacud Crokes side. Like Dan O'Brien as well. Theo Clancy done a fantastic job. I think Theo Clancy was the man picking up David Murphy and held him scoreless. And that shows, this Portarlington side scored 319 in the quarterfinals versus Palatine. And I know some people might say, well, it was Palatine, but 319 in the club games, an outstanding sort of tally to rack up. And Kilmacud Crokes kept them to 4 points today and just 2 points from play. Like, that is just absolutely outrageous. In terms of the key moments in the game, the game was well and true. Like, Colin Murphy hit the opening points for Portarlington, but Kilmacud Crokes then hit 1-5 without reply from the 6th minute right up until the 26th minute. And they were just so comfortable. Cunningham hitting points, Walsh in there, Andrew McGowan with his goal. What did he mean it as such? He looked like he maybe mishit it, but when you're as good as Kilmacud Crokes, sometimes you just get the luck, and sometimes these things can happen when you're such a brilliant team. Those sort of moments will just go for you. And that's sort of what happened with Andrew McGowan. Puts it in the back of the net. Did he mean it or not? We'll obviously have to go back and have a look. It doesn't make a difference anyway, because Crokes are winning this match. And it was just so comfortable. And Portarlington just couldn't settle. you could see the body language of the players as well. Like, they just didn't really seem kind of up for I wouldn't say up for the occasion, but they were just sort of, they looked up for it for about 5 minutes. But then because Crokes started building up a lead, turning them over time and time again, that confidence was gone, and it just wasn't there for Portarlington really after that. Second half was just more of the same. They were just very, very comfortable in cruise control. You're bringing Pádraig Purcell off the bench, who's getting on the score sheet. Brian Sheehy, who normally plays a fullback in both football hurling, even he's getting on the score sheet. Keane O'Connor had a very good game as well. Obviously, Portarlington would have had nightmares of him last year, but he was very, very good once more from a Kilmacud Crokes point of view. And look, Crokes, as I said, like, I don't even think they broke a sweat in the game. It was just so comfortable. Even watching Craig Diaz's interview on RT after the game, he didn't even look like he'd be sweating that much, And normally when you see these players sort of after a game, they're out of breath or, they're absolutely wrecked. But it didn't even look like that at all. It was just so comfortable from Kilmacud Crokes' point of view. And, I said it a couple of months ago, and I'll say it again. I think Na Fianna were probably Kilmacud Crokes' toughest challenge right up until possibly an All-Ireland semi-final or even more than that, So, yeah, kind of incredible, really. Shout out to Mr. J-Mac Podcast. It says, poor game. Kilmacud should still win Leinster, but Downs would be confident also. Mr. David Brady had manners also. Good to see. Hopefully Ireland win here up. Cavan. Yeah, I didn't watch the Downs. I only caught the end of the game. I don't know if David Brady came onto the pitch or something to sort of fire up right out there towards the end of the game. But yeah, look, maybe he was on a bit of a leash in that game, or they had him secretly in handcuffs. I really don't know, but he definitely certainly didn't react in the same ways that he did. He didn't make it a hat-trick of fights anyway. So yeah, taking the shine off himself, and his team still get beat. Very disappointed. But yeah, it wasn't a great game, was it? Like Crokes, you could tell they could have upped the ante if they wanted to. Like, if that game had became closer, they might have maybe upped the levels by 10-15%. But it was just so comfortable. It really, really was. And yeah, from a Portarlington point of view, disappointing for them. Back-to-back semi-final defeats to Kilmacud Crokes, but they're obviously dominant now, sort of unleashed. So you'd expect to see them back in the Leinster Championship once again. But a tough result, a tough one to take from their point of view. But Crokes looking very, very good, and defensively excellent. Midfield was obviously brilliant. Diaz with a man of the match. Personally, would have went with Darren Mullen, but Diaz was excellent. Ben Shovlin was very, very good. From 1 to 15. And as I said, the story isn't about Shane Walsh. 3 points and 1 or 2 frees he missed in the first half, which was probably uncharacteristic maybe from his point of view. And, he goes off with 16, 17 minutes to go. Don't know if it was an injury. I think the game was finished, so I don't even think it was an injury. Maybe just watching the fitness or whatever. But yeah, dominant performance for Kilmacud Crokes. Congratulations to them. Well on track for a Leinster title and possibly even more. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Follow the channel for more videos coming soon. And I shall speak to you all later.